Hi guys, and welcome to TNT Tutorials once again. Today I'll be showing you how to set up a static IP on both your Windows and Mac devices. Now I know this is a relatively simple tutorial, but I know there will be some people who want to do it but are not quite sure, or maybe are a bit intimidated by the whole networking setup. So I thought I'd make it as simple as I can for you to help you set up a static IP no matter if you're on Windows or Mac. However, before we set our static IP, we need to understand the range of IP addresses that our router or your router is allocating to the devices that connect to your network. This is because a static IP address must lie outside of the range in order to avoid the problem of two devices on the same network attempting to use the same IP address. In order to find this range, we actually need to open up a CMD window if we're using Windows for the meantime. Open up a CMD window and type ipconfig. Hit enter, and it's going to come up with some information. Here we'll be able to see what our current IP address is. You can see mine is 10.0.0.100, and what we really need to see, or what we're really interested in by this window, is what our default gateway IP address is. And as you can see, mine is 10.0.0.1. The reason we need this is that when we type this address into our browser, it will take us to a router configuration page. We're not so much going to configure our router, we more importantly need to see the range of IP addresses that are being allocated. Now, everyone's router will be different, but to find this setting, it will most likely be under the heading or the menu labeled DHCP and will look something like this. Now, as you can see, the range of my router is between 10.0.0.100 to 10.0.0.254. Therefore, in order for me to set a static IP address on this PC, I need to ensure that it is outside that range. Hence, I need to make sure I set the IP address on this PC to be any IP address before 10.0.0.100. Okay, so once you've found your range, to set our static IP address, we need to go down to our network setting down here, right click, open network and sharing center, or just get to the network and sharing center however you may like. Sorry, this is a static. Sorry, not a static. Sorry, this is a virtual machine, so things may be a bit slower. Now, I'm connected by Ethernet, but you may be connected by Wi-Fi. Just hit this connections button here, and it should come up with a small pop-up window shortly. And what you want to go from here is properties, and it should come up with another small pop-up window here. There we are. Now, once we get to this window, we want to find Internet Protocol version 4, TCP-IPv4. I'm going to hit this here and then just hit properties again. And another small window will pop up. Now, by default will have obtain IP address automatically and obtain DNS address automatically. That means we're just going to get our IP address from the router's allocation. So to set a static IP address, we're going to say use the following IP address. Now, keeping in mind that our range is between 10.0.0.100 to 10.0.0.254, we need to set an IP address at 10.0.0. Let's say 54. If you have a lot of static IP address, I recommend writing them all down. Now, subnet mask, it should say in the CMD window what your subnet mask is here. So we just copy that in. So it's 255.255.255.0. So once you click it, it will detect what it thinks automatically. But your router may be set up differently. So there we go, 255.255.255.0. Default gateway. Remember that's the address we type into our browser. So it's once again, you can just find it here, which mine is 10.0.0.1. 0.1. And now DNS service. If you haven't changed your DNS servers through your router, then it will just be set on what your ISP's default DNS setting is. So to find your two DNS servers, you can Google your ISP's DNS servers. So my ISP is Telstra, So I would just Google Telstra's default DNS servers and it will come up with preference 1, which you would type in here, or preference 2. But I've since altered my DNS servers, so I know off by heart what mine are. But, so there's that one, that's the first one, and then next one is 8. 8. You got that. And then you hit OK. And let's give it a few seconds to load. There you go. And hit close once again. It might spin for a bit. And it should. There you go. Got internet. Close out of CMD and voila. You should have a static IP address. So yeah, once that says you got internet, it may ask you if you want to share your information over this network. Just hit yes. Um, and then as long as it says access type internet, you have successfully set a static IP address on Windows. Now, onto the Mac side. Okay, so once you're in the Mac operating system, it is fairly simple as well. Maybe I think a little bit simpler than Windows to set the IP just because you don't really have to go into command prompt. But when in Mac, to get started, all you really need to do is just head straight up to System Preferences, head over into Network, and go to Advanced, and TCP/IP, hit that one, and then there you can see that the current IP configuration is using DHCP, meaning that we are letting the router give us our IP address instead of having a static IP. And then this is our current IP address, this is the subnet mask, and this is our router. So once again, you need to find out nothing really. You need to find out your IP's range. Nothing really differs between Mac and Windows, like the initial process. So, if you haven't already, use this. Go into your web browser, find your IP's allocation range, and once again, make sure you're setting the static IP outside that allocation range. Now, remembering that previously, before in Windows, uh, I mentioned that my IP range is between 10.0.0.100 to 10.0.0.254, so we need to set anything before .100, and on that Windows machine I set it as 10.0.0.54, so I'm just going to set it as 10.0.0.55 for this Mac in this case. And the way we go about doing that is just clicking on the using DHCP drop down and hitting manually. So you just need to alter this IP address to 10.0.0.55. It will keep your subnet mask for you and your router address for you. That's totally fine. You then need to head over, however, to DNS. And what you need to do is you need to click add and you just type it in. So there's one. Oops. And then there's two. And then hit OK. And then it says Wi-Fi is connected to um, your network and has the IP address of this. And it's nice because it shows you that your static IP is working, and as long as you get the green light over here, you have successfully set a static IP and you are connected to the internet. So that will just about do us, guys. I hope it's simple and laid out for you in both Windows and Mac of how you can set a static IP if you wish. Some uses of a static IP is this: if you're running like servers off these computers, you don't usually need to set a static IP if it's just like a day-to-day PC where you're just doing day-to-day tasks. But yeah, if you're doing something like a server, etc., on a certain machine, a static IP usually is the safest option. So yeah, guys, if you have any more questions, once again, feel free to leave below or shoot me a message. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later.